I was working as EAC, Extra Assistant Commissioner in East Carolina.
Yes.
There was one standing instruction from the government of Meghalaya that whenever magistrates go out for any official duty, let them visit school and PHC CSCs. So when I was in East Carolina, I used to do it in letter and spirit. Whenever I go out for election hearing and any other inspection work, after completing that, I used to visit school, whether this is a government school, whether it is a private school, and all that. Whether teachers are coming, whether children are coming. So there are cases where teachers do not come to school at all, particularly in the interior areas. So when I asked the teacher, I received a complaint that you never come to school. The teacher said, whom to teach when children do not come. That was his thing. But in my own view and assessment, it is the teacher's fault, because since teachers do not come to school regularly, children do not know when teacher will come. That is a problem. So the crux of the root cause of the problem of that school is basically teacher. So if I say that, teachers may not like me, but that was the reality. So I submitted the report, and it is learned that I was the only EAC or magistrate who submitted the report. And then I received one copy of the letter from principal secretary addressed to director that what action you have taken regarding the report. Otherwise, it will be a futile exercise. So the copy is given to me.
Nice.
Which is addressed by principal secretary to director at that point of time. And then I go to some PHCs and CHCs, whether doctor is there, whether it is PhD, whether it is CHC and all that. Of course, there are cases where some doctors do not come regularly. And then infrastructure facilities, of course, very poor. Maintenance is very poor. We cannot fully blame the doctors also. The support available from the government is also lacking. That I experienced in the health sector also. This is what I just want to say.
But I think the point is, if we cross collaborate and cross monitor each other, I think things can be better. Like the teacher might not have been thinking so much, but after the visit would be thinking and be seeing how they can improve themselves. So I think these kinds of cross departmental interventions are also very, very important.
Sure. So I think most of us so we are program managers from Meghalaya Early Childhood Mission, and our mission works in collaboration with social welfare, education, health department, the CNRD department, which includes the SRES and the NRLM. So we've just come as a mission like I think 1 year ago, which is 1 year old, and most of the data that you've presented, the statistics, I mean even social welfare will agree with me, that we're looking at these data on a daily basis. And we're working towards it, and we're doing interventions and we're planning things. Like Sir has said also that education is one of the rights that's not been, we don't see it practically in the field. And that could be because early education actually didn't start off early. So let's say in the periphery, in the villages. And we are trying to work towards that as well. And we're trying to collaborate that. So basically our mission is a collaborative missions of all these departments. And even with regards to health department, we do a lot of block conventions. We do a lot of community, discussions, where we find that there's a lot of reasons as to why these numbers show up as well. And most people, for the benefit of everyone, so maybe most of you must have known or must have heard also about the CMS scheme that is there, and the transit homes that are there. And with the new NEP that comes under early childhood education, we're also trying to move towards that direction. And basically, with regards to early education, our mission, we are working towards early stimulation starting at home. So education doesn't start at schools; actually, it starts at home. So there's a lot of things that we're working towards, and whatever you said rightfully says that a collaboration across collaboration is required. So we are trying to do that. We're just 1 year old. So these there's a lot of expectations from our mission as well. But what you've rightfully said that children, like the work with children is different, and like you said, that children can't speak for themselves, and that we have to give them an arena also to speak, so that we understand what are their needs. So we're all trying to do that in this mission. And also with regards to the community engagement, there's a lot of participation that we are trying to take from them as well. So most of the things that that you've talked about and all that, we can relate it, and we're trying to work towards that as well. So yeah.
So I just want to add on to what my colleague has just mentioned. So we're looking a lot at the NFHS data, but of course we all know that this data that is inputted or the data that is collected comes from the grassroots level, and most of the times, especially if we look at, let's say for example, let's say from Mother App from Health, or if we look at Portion App from ICDS, right? We see that the accuracy of the data is very poor. So what ECD mission has started is because we've studied the data that we've received from NHFS 5, right? And what we've started is we're starting to train self-help groups. So there's a cadre called CGHA, they call the Community Gender Health Activists. We're training them on how to conduct growth monitoring measurements, and they carry it out in almost all villages to be able to support the Anganwadi workers when it is actually time for NFHS 6, which is already coming in, so that we don't have this problem of inaccurate data. So I'm not saying entire NFHS 5 data is inaccurate. Yes, we have severe malnutrition in our state, we have severe stunting in our state. But what I'm trying to say is it's not as much as it's portrayed to be. It's because of our inability to, submit reports, or to, our capacity to be able to report what is in the grassroots level. So what I'm saying is that we have initiated this process of conducting surveys. We're also having frequent trainings for our supervisors, our Anganwadi workers, for the block officials, so that everybody is on the same page. Yes, we're starting with social welfare is because malnutrition is such a big thing in social welfare, but we're also ensuring that we engage the health department. We frequently have, and I think majority of you, except for education maybe, y'all also are a part of the in-depth review that is carried out by the Development Commissioner's Principal Secretary's Office. This is another platform in which we try to create transparency and ensure that we are working together as departments, so that everybody realizes the importance of what we need to do and the outcome of what we do. So these are a few things that ECD is trying to do, and I think both of us just really felt the need to speak out about it, so that all of you realize and understand the importance of collaborative effort, and ensuring that we give enough capacity to those who are actually collecting the data, because when it's portrayed like that on a screen, it really hurts, like, oh my gosh, malnutrition, oh my gosh, stunting, IMR, whatever, etc., etc. So yeah, we're quite hopeful for NFHS 6, and hopefully the next time we have this training, you'll have better data.
Great. As we move ahead, I just wanted to share a little bit of the work that we as an organization are doing. And I am sharing this Uh, just to understand the scope of doing work with children, and there is a lot happening in the state of Meghalaya. Uh, and sometimes we feel that in the remote areas and in districts which are not being reached, it is difficult to work. It's difficult to work in districts where the indices are low. We work in a similar district which is seen a history of conflict and ethnic conflict based on ethnicity, and also a district which has been very poor in many of the indexes like what you just saw. And there some of the things that we do. One of our programs is working on elementary education. So what we do in working with elementary education is based on the premise that education of mothers up to middle school affects infant mortality rate the most, more than nutrition, immunization, and closeness of the medical facility. So if you are thinking of only a medical solution to infant mortality rates, that is not enough. We have to work with education, and education thereby then leading to more educated mothers, more care, and thereby increasing the chances of survival of children. What we are doing is, again, in education, we are shifting the focus from teaching to learning. We want to make sure that each and every child learns, and we measure the quality of learning and not the quality of teaching. Because if the child has learned well, that is what is important. So all our indicators to assess whether our project is doing good or bad is dependent on the learning indicator. We also focus a lot on girls. We work with school teachers. We have teachers training program. We work in around 200 government schools, catering to 15,000 children. We have a focus on science and maths, second language learning. Many of our communities that we work in, their language, their mother tongue is not what they learn in school. We work with Adivasi communities in Chirang, while the schools there would be Assamese medium or at most Boro medium, both of which they don't speak. So those children find it much harder to cope with learning outcomes. So that is where we are also working on second language usage. Remedial evening schools. We also have forest schools and model schools. The forest schools are, again, because of ethnic conflict, many of these communities where they moved into the forest areas which are not recognized villages, and because these are not recognized villages, there aren't any schools. So we work with government schools, but there are communities which don't even have access to government schools, because the small children cannot go to a distance of 5-6 kilometers walking through forest, and that is why these children just drop out from options of even having school education, primary education. So that is where we had to open a few forest schools. And another thing that we work with is sports for development, which I will talk about. So like I said, education is focusing on girls and boys, of course. what we try and do is building the scientific temperament. So I'm not sure of the situation in Meghalaya, but in Assam, we don't have labs up to high school level, and high school level also not everywhere you will find a lab. So it's all just bookish teaching which happens, which is also again poor quality, all that was being said earlier in the morning today, single teacher schools and all of that. So what we do is teach science and maths. We have a whole thing called lab in a box. We give laboratory which we have created in a box to the schools, and our staff go at along with the teacher have sessions in the schools, and all of this is to build the scientific temperament of children so that in the higher classes they don't have to drop out. These are some of the forest schools that we had to initiate. Like I said, there are a lot of times in these areas there are no schools. You find polling stations there, you find latrines being constructed there, but no schools. And that is where we had to take up this initiative of building schools in these communities. And we try and do it with community participation. Because we do not believe in creating parallel structures, we have tried to create these institutions with community ownership, where sometimes we have these communities, because they don't even have money to pay for the fees. What they do is, we initially gave them goats to rear, and then from those goats, selling the thing, they maintain the school premises and pay for the teacher. We bid the construction initially, and now they have the school management committee which runs the school through this program of rearing goats, which is done individually. But once the goat gives kids, they are handed over to the committee for generating funds for the school. So this is the model under which this is working. We are working with 150 government schools where we do teachers training and teach them to evaluate learnings of children. So the government school teachers are trained on joyful learning methods to make the school environments joyful. We also do mural painting, library in these government schools to make sure that the children enjoy coming to the school and do not drop out. So if you see the school classroom, we have also been able to successfully change the classroom settings. So this setting is not seen in the government schools in which we work. We have tried to do the horseshoe setting for classrooms, tried to do mural along with the children in the classrooms, tried using joyful TLM methods for them. So these are some of the things that we have been doing, and teaching the teachers also to evaluate learnings of children. We also have this whole issue which you are always saying of single teacher classrooms. Class 1 to 5, and now even the pre-primary has been joined along with the primary schools. So they have those two sections, and up to 5, one single teacher dealing with everything. So there again, we along with the teachers try to bring out mechanisms of how to do participatory learning, where children help each other, and also then divide classrooms in a way that the teacher can monitor, so that there is also the safety issues taken into consideration, and fatigue of the teacher, all of that, and try to develop methodologies where even a single teacher, because there isn't much that we can change in being able to appoint teachers in a place or get transfers done, but for till that time happens, try and use different methodologies. Especially the participatory learning methodology is something that has been very, very effective, and it also helps the students gain confidence in this methodology. I think this was one thing that we found very, very interesting. Another thing that we do is sports for development. We try and promote sports. Again, like I said, government schools, the scope for doing sports is very, very limited. We do all other games also. Football is a very, very big hit. But one sport that we try to promote is frisbee. We try to promote this game also keeping in view that we are working in a conflict prone zone and we want to build peace building, and this game is a no referee game, no aggression. It has scores for the spirit scores, so we can have a lot of dialogue on values, and we have the sports session, and after which we have a debriefing session in which we give also input session on SRHR, on values, on nutrition, on cleanliness, hygiene, and do different sessions with them. The most important thing is that in our frisbee groups, we call them also Rainbow Ultimate, in which we ask them to make teams of a minimum of 3 languages and 3 religions. So people from the Adivasi community, the Bodo community and the Muslim community, which otherwise would not have come together, because of these tournaments, the children are coming together, playing together, competing with each other as teams. So not against each community, because there are mixed members within teams. So that is how we are trying to work on this sport. And the most important thing is that this is one sport where boys and girls play together in a single team. In football, you will have girls football, boys football separate. But here, they both play together in a single team. So that is why we have been promoting this game across Northeast. Again, we have been promoting, since the community that we work in is in Bodoland, we have been also promoting the local culture, tradition, and but with a different perspective. So traditional instruments playing was getting lost. This is something that we have tried to revive among children. But also in this journey, we have tried to make sure that we are trying to bring in gender equity. So traditionally, long drums, flutes was not something that girls used to perform. It was the dance which the girls used to perform and the boys used to play the instruments. What we have tried to do through various camps, we have tried to encourage girls to perform, and we had a lot of coaching camps for girls, and today we have a whole troupe which is of girls and boys together, but the girls perform the instruments, and today they are also being accepted in the society. Initially we had a lot of fear whether they would be accepted by the traditional bodies, but today that is happening. Like what I said earlier in the day, the preschooling years is the years where a lot of our behaviors of things like habitual ways of learning, emotional control, vision, hearing start getting settled before the age of 5 years. Yeah, we can learn number, symbol, social skills, language later, but certain things we would learn before the age of 5. So this is a very, very crucial segment of our life, and in this phase, if we are exposed to violence, if we are exposed to abuse, if we are exposed to malnutrition, then it impacts our entire life. And that is where another of our program that we work on domestic violence, which is for women, but our focus always remains on children and the abuse that children go through because of domestic violence. So we have a project on domestic violence, but children are also an equal and important part. We have a project called Project Enrich, enabling the rights of children. In this project, we are trying to work with different stakeholders on bringing collaborative efforts between different departments and working particularly on bringing about an ecosystem within the local governance. So, in the local governance system, how do we bring in child rights and create that enabling environment? So, we have created a lot of materials which can be used by facilitators and animators who work in the community and closely with various government stakeholders to work in the community using these materials. A lot of things which are very pictorial for children, through games and other activities we try to engage them, and it particularly works with for children and adolescents and has a whole spectrum of issues, right from gender, psycho-emotional, psychosocial issues, emotional issues, understanding your emotions, abuse, and all of that, environment, and also career and other things. So these are certain pictures of through the various TLM materials and library activities that we teach teachers to then work with children. So this is some of our work that we have been doing in Chirang, which I wanted to share with all of you. And I think this has been a journey for us also in understanding child rights, implementing programs to ensure the needs of children, and bringing different stakeholders together in doing that. We will now move over to a next segment of the very important pillar that we always feel very strongly about, is the pillar of child participation. Now we have 4 pillars, right? Survival, which is related to health, shelter, nutrition, vaccination, birth certificates, all of that comes within the survival. Next is development. Development is about education, equal opportunities, physical well-being, which there are certain overlaps, but so the development of the child, one is the survival, the other is development. The third that we want to, so we've talked a lot about survival, health and education, survival and development largely, also sports and other cultural activities that can be taken for children and how important it is. The third pillar that we will want to talk about is participation, and how can we go about doing that. But before getting into that, I will request Pragati to take us through an activity. And the last pillar of protection is what we will cover largely tomorrow. So we will go through the third pillar of participation.
inside? No, 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 no. This is just drawing. So, who all got to make the drawing? Raise your hand properly. And who all stayed inside? And who waited watching the drawing? Okay. So, from the waiting list group, can any one or two share what was the feeling of, what was the experience of standing there and watching others do and do nothing, just stand there?
Yeah, at first it was quite boring. And then we started moving around, drawing whatever they felt like drawing. Kind of, so carefree. So looking at the pictures also, they were like in a relaxed mode, drawing some funny faces and all that. We were saying they had to draw something on China's rights. Couldn't make out the picture. It was right.
Yeah. So you're having fun, and first
Yeah,
boring
and
then
we had
fun.
fun. We just watched them around.
Thank you. So would you like to share?
Yes. I think we could, those who are standing waiting outside, we could observe all the God-gifted talent to all the participants. So, I think big round of applause for them. And of course, we did see that some of them really did well, that we could get a message that something is related, not something, almost I can say 80 to 85% is mostly related with child, because some of them they drew school building katsa type of whatsoever, and then some of them they drew with child related toys. So in a way it's quite educative for all of us.
And the group who stayed inside, how did you feel?
I think I felt clueless first. Like what's going on outside? Maybe we're playing hide and seek.
But you knew something was happening
Yeah,
outside?
what's happening outside. And like we were obviously we didn't know anything what is happening outside. So it was like we were kept in suspense.
Did you feel like going out at any moment? And just a curiosity to see what's happening?
No, we are prevented from going, no?
Yeah, we were prevented from going, like Sir said. And then we engaged into talk after that. Like
We thought we were the special five.
Instead of sitting idle, we also discuss.
Yeah, we had a discussion.
Okay, so Inakshi's task was to not let you get into discussions, but that happened anyway. Now the ones who made the drawing, the population is sitting towards this side, so who would like to share? Our colleagues are asking what was that, what did we ask you all to do? So if one or two can share what was the experience of doing the whole thing.
Actually, we were asked to draw the face, any kind of faces, maybe a face of smiling, a face of
Emotion.
sleeping, emotional face, I mean, whatever faces we have done. And then secondly, we were asked to draw the child rights. So we tried to draw the child rights, like say, right to education, right to school, right to shelter, and also right to get a healthy nutrition, and then health security, and so on. And then after that, we were asked to repaint on top of this, like to make it darker and to show some beautiful faces, and even the flowers and then games made of cycle and all. So
Anyone else? Last one sharing. Our most active participant in that activity. Yeah, what was the experience of drawing?
Actually, when we are forced to draw to paint randomly, because I remember my childhood. When the theme is given to us to draw, to paint, and I remember my childhood, right from morning till the time to sleep, because at the 15th second she said, draw and go, draw and go. Okay, you have to turn around. The same thing happened when I remember my childhood, that you have to do this, do that, and everything. You have to, after coming to school, we have to do this, do that, until the time to sleep. It reminds me also, I'm the national painter. I represented from the Meghalaya in the years 2009 and 2010. I used to go for painting all over India, actually. But now I'm stopped painting. I have my own problem. So actually, what we are paying over there, let me share something about painting. There is always a theme for painting. You cannot just draw. When they say painting is a theme. I remember when I paint the second day on the first day in Amritsar, in Punjab. Over there, the material for paintings is ready, and we have already been put in a row so that we can paint in row from 27 states. So they give us a theme for 2 hours only. What do you mean by abortion? I remember that. What do you mean by abortion? Paint it. What do you understand by abortion? Paint it. So we have to pay. Your time starts now. Within 2 hours only. We have to pay. But it is not easy to pay to understand adoption. For me, it takes 2 years, but not in 15 seconds, to think about what is adoption, or what is abortion. So we have, but the time don't give us more, so we start painting. So today's painting, it reminds me a lot that if you have opportunity for those who are special guests or something, or this 15 years also, I hope you will enjoy it.
Thank you so much. So the activity that we did was, it's called collaborative art, and like sir said, there are always themes, and today we are, I'll not call it theme, but a few leads of, first was how are you feeling today or right now. The second was one thing that made you happy in your childhood, and the third was what comes to your mind when you think of child rights. And that beautiful painting came up. The beauty of this activity that I find is, every time we do this debriefing and ask the participants, so many new interpretations and perspectives come up. But why we did it today in the child rights session, and we made 3 groups. One could not see what was happening, one group were standing there, could not participate, and one group participated. But did we ask you who wanted to paint? We didn't. We randomly chose. We randomly chose who would paint, who would just watch there, and who would know that something is happening but would not be able to participate. So, not taking much time, if I have to summarize this was about participation, and children also feel like this. Maybe some among the ones who were drawing, you didn't want to draw. You don't like drawing. Some who were inside or standing outside, maybe you wanted to draw, you like painting, you like colors. We did not ask anyone, we decided for you who would go, who would stay, who would watch. So often children also feel like that. And that thing of that when I was asking you all to move, that was for a reason, but today I got a new perspective which I'll use again. We also keep telling the children, do that, do this, pushing them. So I was asking people to keep moving, not even I let them stay at one place, not even for a minute. They were constantly having to move. So maybe that might be very annoying and disturbing for children also. So that was about how children's participation matter, what they think, what they want to do, which child want to do what matters. And lastly, all of you hesitated to make the first move after I made the emotion, because I think there was a feeling of you or somebody was saying also the fear of, will I make a good drawing? That's the beauty of collaborative art. At the end of the activity, I cannot see which was my drawing, because everybody was drawing on everybody's drawings. So there was no shame, no embarrassment that, if I give you one single paper and you have to present it here, like, I made such a bad painting, she made a good painting. So it's everybody's work together. If it is bad, it is bad together. If it is good, it is good together. So children also have expressed that being together and doing together, learning together with participation brings joy, and something that we should practice as adults.
It will be very useful for kids.
Yes, you can please use this collaborative art activity with your children. There are just some do's and don'ts. I am available for a discussion over tea later for that. Any other thoughts on participation of children? Yes.
Thank you for this opportunity. Yes, it is a little bit of like outside the topic, but yes, we're talking about painting. So I'd like to share something about yesterday, what happened. You say participation, right? I have a small daughter. She's just reading in class 1. So yesterday, her teacher was telling her that you have to draw, like from a reader. Okay, you have to draw a picture of a tree, and then a tiger, and then a deer, and then the flowers and leaf. So when she comes home, she was telling me, Mommy, I could draw only a tree. Okay, can't you help me draw a tiger? I, being a mother, I could help her. So what did I do? I just say, show me the reader. So you cannot draw this. Why don't you draw whatever you want to draw? So what did she do? She just went to the bedroom. Okay, take a small table, and she's trying to picture what is this tiger, no? And the way she draw, I was like amazed. Like she's just like a small kid, right? Then I said, how do you say that you don't know, but suddenly after you look at the reader, you could draw a tiger. So like I feel like communication is something which and then after she finished her drawing, after she colored, she was praising her own drawing. Till in the morning time when I drop her to school, she was like, Mommy, can I see again the classwork which I have to submit at school? So I told her that when you go to school, your teacher will say that yes, I'm proud of you because you did it by yourself. Okay, so I feel that parents' communication with children is important. Yes. So I believe that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So we are breaking for tea, and this time we'll just try to come as fast as possible because that's how we can wrap up. Yeah, last session is remaining. As soon as we come, we end the sessions earlier. Thank you. Very dark colors and very light colors together, there will be nothing at the end. So if you Google color wheel, the colors that are just neighboring each other, for example, I took light yellow today, light orange, darker orange, red, and the green closer to the yellow wheel. So that color theme we have to select carefully. And at the end of the activity, there is a spray, fixative spray. You spray that because we use the soft pastels, so it became powder, and it can spread and spoil the drawing. So after we spray the fixative spray, it stays like that. But that fixative spray is very strong, and children can fall sick. So we keep children away when we do.
So, talking about child participation is a very difficult topic because it is actually something interwoven amongst all the pillars as to how you enable children to participate, and it is also something that we often do not see. It is not something that is very common, especially in our adult way of thinking and way of working. So, we had actually gone to Nepal for an exposure visit because Nepal is known for its child participation. It is recognized even in the UN platform as one of the countries which has done the best in child participation. So, what is it that they did is something which we went and saw, and that is what I thought would be really good to share with you all today. When we went there, we visited some 7-8 organizations, local organizations, international organizations, consortiums working for child rights in Nepal, and also the National Child Rights Council of Nepal, which is like the NCPCR of India. They call it the National Child Rights Council of Nepal. So we visited all these organizations, and the model that they work, particularly in terms of child participation, is child participation in decision making. I think that's a spectacular thing that they have been doing, which is also a part of our Indian way of functioning. It's just that operationally it has not been as effective as it has been in Nepal and the way it has been projected. That could also be because Nepal is a much smaller country, less diverse than India, and also because they had a great opportunity because they were formulating their constitution recently. So they had a lot of scope to put in a lot of things of child rights. The direct engagement of children with government stakeholders. So there has been a substantial amount of children's participation with government stakeholders in Nepal. And they work on a philosophy of evidence-based advocacy. So they generate a lot of data and research which they present in international forums, which even India is doing nowadays, of course. And then the network of CSOs in collaboration with government initiatives. The government and non-government relationship in Nepal is very, very strong. There is a department which looks over this whole thing, and there is a lot of non-governmental activity happening in Nepal. Just to set the background is that, as we all know, there was civil war in Nepal in 96 to 2006, and post 2000, after the peace process had started, trafficking became a major problem. Many civil society organizations did a lot of groundwork, including child rights agenda in the constitution. Because that was the time that they were framing the constitution, the child rights organizations had a lot of scope in influencing and putting in child rights issues into the constitution of Nepal. Finally, child rights became a fundamental right in Nepali constitution. So in the constitution, they have, in the fundamental rights, child rights is categorically mentioned as child rights in that frame. And the new constitution in 2015 came up with a new form of government system, and child rights became a concurrent right. The three-tier government at the national, provincial, and had to work in coordination to ensure child rights. And children's participation also became very, very well laid out within the system. So, what are the strategies and milestones that they have achieved? As a country, they talk about 22,000 children's clubs that they have formed, which are functioning through schools and communities. And these 22,000 are government recognized under a program as child rights. Now, NGO can be forming, whoever forms, but they get a recognition as a children's club from the government. So, that's how they have the children's participation being ensured. These child clubs are basically child-friendly local governance system ensuring child participation in the decision-making process at the different levels. So these child clubs are involved in the local governance systems and also in other. So in departmental meetings, sometimes children from the child clubs are called. Like in the Panchayati Raj system of ours, we also have Bal Sabhas, no? Like Gram Sabha has to happen at the Panchayat level. There also should be Bal Sabha or child Sabhas to be happening in the Panchayat system in India. But technically that is not happening. Similarly, in Nepal also, they, in the local governance system, they have to have child-friendly, the children have to, out there have to pass, the children's club has to pass the, whatever the plan for the year is. So it has to go through the children's club to be approved. It's one of the checklist out there. So that is how they are getting the legitimacy of being a part of the governance system, because their voices are also heard. They are consulted, or at least shown that this is what is being planned, this is what is there, what are your thoughts, do you all agree or not? So that is a system that is happening there. It is also seen that former children's club members currently leading organizations working on child rights, and the consortium Nepal is one of those stories. So lot of these people who are working as child rights activists today have been at some point of time members of children's clubs, and now they are leading the whole consortium. All the civil society organizations, the consortium which is there is being led by people who were earlier children who in the children's club. So it shows that while becoming a part of the governance system, while doing maybe even if it's just seen as a mock exercise of doing a Bal Sabha and all of that, but they are learning a lot of governance, decision making, leadership, which helps them to take on leadership positions in the future, and then do quality governance, do quality service delivery when they grow up. So I think that's the big connect that we have seen in that visit. Um, so there are around 17 networks that are there for different themes, and all these are work in collaboration with the government department. So each department fosters and becomes the part of consortium civil society groups who are doing development work on that particular theme. So all the NGOs who are working on health will form a consortium and work in collaboration with the health department. So that's the kind which is also happening in India in the PPP model, but I think their model is far more advanced, and again, but because being a smaller country might be more feasible. So that's the kind of work that is happening in Nepal. The other thing that we saw is the articulation of the UNCRC. The evidence-based advocacy which we were talking about, they generate a lot of data based on the UNCRC and report back to the UN. So that is helping them also, we felt, in building the image that Nepal has on child rights and the work that is happening there. So that's where they are effectively using such data for evidence-based advocacy. The other thing is the Child Advisory Committee. So one is at the national level and the governance level that is happening, but we saw that even in NGOs, they have a Child Advisory Committee, and in fact there is a regulation which says that if you are working with children and you do not have children representation advising your board, then you will not be allowed to function. So there are children advisory committees for all NGOs working with children, and they again, like what the governance system follows, they also have their key decision making processes. They involve these child advisory committees. So this is a model of child participation that we wanted to share with all of you, and I think it's there is a very, very effective. This is one of the reports which they submitted to the UN, which was again the report that they submit to the UN is again they do it with children across all the provinces. Children participate, share what their views are, and then they compile and they send. So they do things very, very participatorily, engaging children in all these activities, which are very, very important to learn from. We would just like to have a small table group discussions, and if you all can just reflect the status of child participation in Meghalaya at the household level, community level, and the governance level. In these three structures, what is the level of child participation currently, and what are the scope for development of child participation? So maybe if we can just form table groups and turn around our chairs like we did in the morning. We can have one group at the end. One group can be here, and so if you can join here, maybe you can join at the back. So we'll just take 10 minutes and then we will share. What do you think is the current level of community participation, children's participation in household level or family level, community level, and the governance level? And your suggestions.
Level of participation of children right from the household level, so once in a blue moon, we do ask them their decisions of which place they like to visit, outings or a kind of shopping, and take them to these areas where there's a festival being held, all that. So that is also indirect participation of the children. Then take them shopping, like they are choosing their own outfits. That's also, it's kind of a decision making. They have a independent voice. So that is all for household level, and at the community level, they kind of directly participate in these local skits or dramas or talent shows in churches, schools, and cultural programs, all that. Of course, this is it has been instructed to them. It's always an indirect participation actually, because it has been instructed to them through the elders or someone running the organization. So we don't really have direct participation on their own level, on the decisive level. We don't get to make decisions. They've been instructed. So at the governance level also, after the discussion among us, he was being very smart and intelligent, guiding the group. So we found that even at the governance level, it's an indirect participation, like for example, a particular adolescent or a kid, like who's good in football or who has done something so brave and has been recognized by the government. So he's been given a bravery award. So that is also indirect participation, right? Because this child has a talent, so there's a kind of something organized by the government. So he joins that talent show or something he could do, and he's been given a bravery award. And because of that bravery award, the government has recognized him. Indirectly, that is, the child is not really participating on their own wish. So children with talents also represent the state. They represent even in the national level or international level. So while discussing here, we have discovered that it's always an indirect participation of children. So according to our group, suggestions are like, number one, really love to have in our state or country creation of children's clubs at the village, state and national level. Number two, involvement of children in programs organized by government, NGOs, etc. Even today's training, if there were children, it would be a different ball game altogether. And number three, creation of child advisory committees, like you have taught us, shown us in the slides, like what do you do in the Nepal community. And in schools, obviously in our tribal societies, we start from schools and other smaller sectors of the community. So that is all from our group.
Thank you.
Good afternoon once again. It seems like Madam has mentioned most of the points that we have already mentioned here. But just to mention here, from our group we have come across, as far as household level is concerned, the participation of children mostly depends on the family. So usually children didn't have the freedom to express or to participate based on their wishes and and likings. But however, it's usually been depend on the families, their participation. So like children were asked to do this, asked to do that, which involves like working like participation in cooking, cleaning in the house, like household chores. Then in the community level, we have had some points like children like again like Madam has mentioned, like more or less indirect participation because children were asked to to participate in the cleaning drive, something in the community, to participate in sports events in the community, to participate in cultural activities held in their community, sometimes to participate in religious activities within the community, to take part in like it could be any prayers or cultural programs, singing, dancing, whatever. So more or less like Madam has already mentioned, like it's a direct participation. As far as the government is concerned, like she already said, observation of important days, like Children's Day celebration, observation of Child Rights Day, all those children are being asked to participate. Children are being requested to do this, to do that. But like the initiative or the decision which has come from the children which are innate to them in the People Indonesia does not come. So it's more or less indirect participation which are the children have been directed to do this or to do that. So same thing like the Bravery Awards also, as Madam has mentioned, like children were chosen, like who are the children who have reached a certain criteria where they are they could be eligible for a particular Bravery Award or something. So as far as children in India is concerned, like the level of participation is like what we will say is nil almost, 0 point something percent, but not even 1% also. So yeah, as far as this is concerned, like we need more awareness, more education campaigns. Like recently, I've seen in the news that somewhere the government of Kerala or something have decided to assimilate or to integrate some kind of POXO awareness into the school syllabus, which is very important. Making children aware about their rights, which should be in a child-friendly manner. Sometimes, like Madam has said, that exposing children to such kind of training, but sometimes it's not difficult. I mean, it's difficult because the level of participation from children will be very different. So we cannot give the same level of teaching to the children, in the presence of the adults. Sometimes adults has to be very separate from the children. But my point is that even children also get the same exposure like we get. Like that's a point that Madam is saying. Even children also need the same exposure, same level of education and awareness, so that they also learn the importance of child rights. At the same time, especially children, they learn the important ABCs of how to protect themselves against abuse, against any exploitation. So if the children are not being empowered, children are not being educated, then that level of participation will not come around. So we need to create more awareness, more education, so that it reaches the children, the grassroots level, especially the young children. They should know about the most important of how to protect themselves and how to participate in things that are important to them and to their lives. Thank you.
So I think most of the points have come out, and I'll just speak maybe the ones that we can add on. So the group we've discussed, like one thing is that no communication, like one of the colleagues has said that no communication is given to the children. So maybe they've been excluded only from decision making. And another thing is that there's a difference in our generation and this generation. So this generation children, they're more vocal of their needs. Like for example, like when they want something, they'll tell them that we want this, and maybe some temper tantrum will come out, and somehow or the other their decision is our decision. Like minor domestic decision, like watching TV or the food they eat or something like that. But again, some other decisions, let's just say like, even like in making friendships, sometimes when we see another child who's not doing well, we'll be like, please don't be friends with that child, that decision process, like for them to take part in friendships, it's kind of taken from them, whom they feel nice or they feel happy or, like engaging in play. Another thing is that when it comes to other decision like subjects and all that, parents again take that decision. Children are not usually asked whether you like this subject or that subject, and that usually come as an output later on of which subjects you're going to, like as your career, you're going to specialize. That would be in terms of the household. With regards to community, I think most of them they've spoken, but again, like how everybody has pointed out that there's no direct decision taken, in the community. we've not heard of it, so there's no platform for children to also voice out their opinions. In terms of governance, so we do know that there are some NGOs, who's trying to trying to create these children's parliament. So there is some trial from their side. And also, I've just read in the news that some of the children during some session at the KHATC level or something, they've been asked to come and observe, these sessions. So maybe as an observer, they're there, but not as a person to take decision. So yeah, so these are just some additions. And also in the model United Nations, children, there is a platform where children are able, to include themselves in decision making.
Yeah, I think children's participation in decision making and respecting them with the thought that they also know, they also have a thought process of their own, and they can also place an argument for themselves is very, very important. And that small step can lead to a big amount of their self-confidence and self-belief. They're very interconnected. And I think that is where we all need to start, both at the family level, at the community level, and the governance level, of seeing how do we engage children in critical decision making processes at our homes. It's not only about when it is engaging them, but how should we construct the house? How should we, what would be the new car that we should buy? I think the more and more that we engage our children, they think more, they become more aware, and they also feel valued and important. And that leads to them becoming more productive, responsible citizens. Similarly, in the communities, I think we should give them a space to share and bring in at decision-making processes. I'll just give an example. One of my friends, Prince Thankyo, I don't know if some of you know, he had started this initiative of village dorbars by children, and the Ramba Shnong would always be a girl. so he I don't know if he's still continuing, but he had set up this whole thing, and in that community he used to have these, and it was so wonderful to see how these children used to run the whole dorbar, even in terms of inviting, how they used to go around inviting, and this girl will go with beating the plate because she is the Ramba Shnong and she needs to behave like one, and she'll call them all. So there have been small initiatives, but I think as a community we need to think on how to get our children, because I think it is all linked to early marriage, and today there are more single women headed families, single mothers. So I think it is a lot of things that we need to think about, and also in the governance system. I think even if they come in as KHADCs, as an observer, that's a first starting point. And then if they can start looking at it, they will know how to work in the future. I think with this, we'll close the day. Thank you very much.